Greeny, we got a couple of things wrong, so let's clear it up. First of all, Caleb Williams, you don't have nearly the leverage that some people here think you do. First of all, I checked with the league office. He has petitioned to move on to the NFL. They have never revoked that. He cannot go back to college. Secondly, if the four of us represent Caleb Williams, everything we would be thinking about is how quickly do we get to the next deal, which for him will be $55, $60 million a year. So the NIL money is nice and really important for other players. So State Farm commercials, million here, whatever, that's fine. But Caleb Williams, you want to get that clock going ASAP to get to the next contract because that's where the big money is. So he's a really good player, but he has been sacked 83 times, and typically sacks carry over to the NFL, Greeny. So if Chicago wants him, I call up Caleb Williams and say, start looking for your apartments because you could be a Bear in March, April, May, June, July, August. You have no leverage. You're a Bear.
So what you're telling me is that if the Bears decide he's their guy, there is next to nothing he can do about it.
There's nothing he could, not next to, there is zero. You are a Bear, end of story.
Okay, so it's a really interesting conversation because we've been sitting here talking about that and the NIL money and all that. Now, here's my only pushback on that. If I'm Caleb Williams, you know who's not going to get $60 million? Mitch Trubisky, Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, probably Justin Fields, or he's certainly going to have to work for it in an entirely different way because as important as getting the clock started is getting it started in the right place where you have a chance to show how good you are so that you become, even Justin Herbert, who hasn't done any high-level winning, there was no question they were giving him his deal, and Burrow and Allen and all these other guys. If he winds up getting drafted into a really bad situation, and the Bears situation right now looks better than it has in a while, but there are major reasons for concern.
Yep.
Then you never get to that $60 million.
So let me push back on your pushback, which is, hey, we got Shane Waldron, we got DJ Moore. To your point, we are a better franchise, but the bottom line is you're a Bear because we say you're a Bear and you have no options.
That at the end of the day, that's the end of the day. That's what he's telling us. Marcus, you've heard all this conversation. You've obviously been a part of it on NFL Live and everything else. What's your take on all this at the very top of the NFL draft?
I mean, look, I hear what Mike T is saying, but do you really want a disgruntled quarterback to walk into your building the first day after you draft him? That's number one. Number two is when you have a position of power that, like Chicago has, you try to leverage the fact that Caleb Williams doesn't want to play with you. It's hard to identify quarterbacks, and everybody has talked about how he could potentially be generational, and they see traits, a lot of traits of the best quarterbacks that we have in the league. So I get it. I would understand the stance from Ryan Poles of not wanting to move or not wanting to capitulate to what Caleb Williams wants. But we've seen this movie before with guys not wanting to be places. We understand that if that is the potential of him walking into a building and everybody in that organization understanding that he really doesn't want to be here, where does that put the Bears?
That's right.
Right? Like, I get it, and you can force his hand, but we've seen this organization and franchise try to find an identity over the last 5 or so years. They've tried to make moves. They kept Eberflus. Ryan Poles brought in as a GM. We've seen the up and down situation of a quarterback. So I hear you, Mike T. And yeah, you have no choice if you Caleb Williams potentially. But you know the choice you have is to go in that building and tell them every day, I do not want to be here. I don't want to play here. And the type of turmoil that's going to create, I don't think it's worth having a guy with maybe a little less talent that can still play at a high level that wants to play for the Chicago Bears.
And let me say this too. It is a time where, and to Swagu's point, I agree with this. If you walk in and say, okay, you have to be a Bear. Well, I don't want to be a Bear. Eberflus might lose his job. Like, they don't want to play in a world of uncertainty and distraction. Poles doesn't want that. Eberflus doesn't want that because both of them could be moving out just as quickly. We've seen this tape on replay, right? We saw it with Trubisky. Then we see it with Fields. Like, this is not new for the Bears in this organization. And so I do think there's more leverage. And again, maybe not, oh, I'm going to get myself drafted somewhere else. But let me tell you, they can. There's a saying in football: you can make me practice, you can't make me practice hard. Like, that dude could walk in and be like, all right, I'm here, but I'm not going to do it. That's more of a distraction for this team than anything else.